Okay, everyone, shut up, everyone, shut up, be quiet, be quiet. We have a special guest. We have not a regular guest, a special guest. Yes, this is the season finale of season one on Animator Zone. And what's a better way to end this season than interviewing one of my greatest inspiration in this whole community? Ignore the chicken. Ignore the chicken. The one, the only.
Hey, yeah.
So without further ado, let's jump right in and let's get it right into the question. Your name is BTW on YouTube, but on Instagram your name is Aopw. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, so BTW was the name of the YouTube channel, Basement Tape Wrestling. I changed it to Aopw, which is All Out Pro Wrestling, for the Instagram show, mainly because I knew that I didn't want to continue the BTW storylines on Instagram. I kind of wanted them to be almost like a reboot, a fresh start. You didn't have to watch the other stuff. You can start from this point on.
You transitioned your pig thread from YouTube to Instagram. How come?
So, long story short, I just didn't have time to keep up with the pig fed. I wanted to. Always had a lot of fun doing the BTW stuff. But just some major changes happened in my life, and I found it easier, faster to deliver more content through Instagram. Yeah, I know it's not the same thing, but it was a necessary change for me to continue the hobby that I wanted to do, and still maintaining time to be able to do it.
You changed from the new Japan Pro Wrestling type ring to the TNA style ring. What made you do the transaction? Because I personally love the New Japan Pro Wrestling ring.
So with BTW, I had a New Japan style ring with a unique canvas made by Nathan from Ring Skirts, with the ropes and turnbuckle pads. I'm a big New Japan fan. I love New Japan wrestling, and nobody was really doing that on YouTube from what I could see. So I thought, well, maybe this will make it stand out a little bit. And that was really the main influence, was just to get to do something different. I'm doing the same thing that other people are doing, just dress it up a little different. The six-sided ring for Aopw sort of just happened by accident. I came across it, and it was right place, right time. But originally, I started it with a four-sided ring for Aopw.
Is Aopw a reformed brand of BTW? If it's not, then could we ever see the return of BTW?
So Aopw it's its own separate individual company, with its own individual storylines. However, it gets confusing because, yes, it does take place in the same universe. So, think of it like how there's Ring of Honor, and then there's, Impact, there's AEW, there's these other promotions that have their own individual storylines. But obviously they exist in the same world that we all live in, and we get to see them. Aopw and BTW are sort of in the same. I still am doing BTW videos. They're just not as often. In fact, I'm working on one right now, Final Kingdom 4, and I've started to bleed in some of those storylines into Aopw, and vice versa.
You went from doing shows and pay-per-views to just doing pay-per-views. Is it because it's less time-consuming to do weekly shows, or?
That's exactly right. I didn't want to slow down. I did slow down a little bit. Work, life just got a little crazy. I had an injury earlier in the year, and it really just slowed down a lot of my progress. And then also, I kind of just took on some other projects that, it just kind of, took up some time. But I will be returning to the episodic format, just maybe not exactly how I was doing it. I have some really cool ideas for the future.
What's your thoughts on a small channel called JWG?
Yeah, JWG. I'm actually really impressed most with how it's less pick fed and more stop motion, which I've always had a thing for. I've always enjoyed because, I understand the craft that goes into it, and for the people that can do it so well and fluent, my hat's off to you. And your stuff is really, really good. The motions are fluid. The hardest thing about pick fed is that you have to make it look like the real thing. And it's hard to do that when you're doing like every other shot. But with stop motion, you have to do every single second of frame, and it has to still look like the thing. And you're doing a really good job. So I'm very impressed with the fluidity of motion, which is the most important part of stop motion.
Would you say that BTW was heavily influenced by New Japan Pro Wrestling? Because you had at the time you had the ring, the belts, and some of the superstars at the time were also in BTW.
Yeah, New Japan definitely was a big influence on the BTW stuff. I think I had the IWGP Heavyweight US and the Intercontinental, I think even the tag titles at one point. That's basically because I didn't have I was trying to come up with original belts for basement tape wrestling, and I had it was the No Limits, my BTW tag, and then the BTW Heavyweight. I just found it more easy to just, people understood what the other belts were. They knew what those belts were. So it was easier to kind of like just incorporate them. And I still incorporate them. They're in Aopw. In the near future, they're actually going to be a little more important. So stay tuned for that too.
Whatever happened to the series Cheap Custom? Because that's how I met you, and that's how I got hooked on your channel, because of that series, because it was an amazing series for easy, cheap, and quick customs that anyone can do. So whatever happened to it?
Cheap Customs was my I'm not very good at making custom action figures. I'm not even gonna pretend to say that I've done great work. I haven't, but it was enough to get by. There's a lot of talented people that do great work. Not oftentimes can we afford it, and I always saw things that say, like, you want the best, you have to pay for the best, and I agree. But for me, it was more of like, well, I don't have a lot of money and I have a lot of parts. So can I make my own version of these things? And Cheap Customs just basically became a way to kind of get like what I thought was really easy formulas of putting together wrestlers that just kind of like would get you by if you were okay with it. And those videos are my most successful videos, and I never kept up with them. I'm gonna try to get back to it, but it's kind of like at the back burner. But I love that series.
Would you ever try stop motion at some point in time, or will you just stick with pick fitting?
I would love to get into stop motion, but again, that's just more time and commitment. I don't know if I'm there yet. There's another project that I've been working on that I would consider to be closer to stop motion than my BTW or Aopw stuff, and that's the GWC, my MMA pick fed. I feel like that one's like in between a stop motion / pick fed. That's the closest as I've gotten it, and I really do like it. Yeah, absolutely, I would love to if I can get to it.
You're sort of an OG. You are an OG in this community. What changes have you seen from when you start to now?
Well, thank you, man. I wouldn't consider myself an OG, but I've noticed that people are sort of doing more stuff that they like to do, if that makes any sense. People are doing matches and tournaments and customs of people that might not necessarily be considered top guys to like main organizations. So it's nice to see all these other wrestlers get put in those positions, and almost kind of like a fantasy cast type thing. I like seeing people do unique work, unique canvases, unique rings, unique titles, storylines, angles, all that stuff. And a lot of people are doing a lot of great work right now. So yeah, it's really cool. It's really good. the community, I think, is doing well, and honestly, we need more. So.
It's a really interesting idea that you decided to do MMA pig fitting, but out of everything such as Marvel fights or Star Wars fight, you decide to do MMA. How comes?
I'm a fan. I enjoy it. I wish other people would do it too, because I'd love to see other people like. GWC has been really entertaining. That's the name of the MMA promotion. It's really entertained me, and I'd love if other people would try it. More people would try it, just so that I can have some other stuff to watch, because I really enjoy it. A few people have tried it before, but not too many recently. So yeah, I wanted to do it. And you mentioned the Marvel and Star Wars stuff. I am a fan of all those stop motion videos. So I would have liked to have gotten into that too. But combat sports, pro wrestling, that's my jam.
What made you decide to do pig fit instead of stop motion?
I think there's a lot of different answers to that. But honestly, it was Harrison. I learned the format from him, and he's the king. I respect him immensely, and I've seen a lot of other great promotions too that do their thing. Always like Prime Wrestling and W3A and Natty. And I'm drawing a blank. There's so many other great guys that are doing it, both Instagram and YouTube. Like, I love a lot of these guys. Their work is great. But it just always captured me that way. Stop motion is awesome, but there's something to it with the pig fetting. It's almost like a comic book. It's panel by panel rather than a movie, which would be stop motion. So, I like comic books, and I feel like it's art come to life. So I think that's why I prefer pig.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, Aopw, for joining us. It's been a pleasure. And is there anything you want to say?
Dude, I want to say thank you. I've noticed you from many years ago. You've always been very kind to me, and we've shared a lot of notes back and forward, and I really appreciated your support, both with Basement Tape and GWC and Aopw and all these other letters I might have associated myself with. But you've been there from what I feel like it's been day one, and thank you so much for including me on this. It's been super fun. I like answering questions and stuff like that, and pass on the good, the good stuff. I want people to help each other out. Don't be so mean to each other. Just they're action figures, so let's just have fun with them, right? Peace, man. It's been a pleasure. Have a good one. Peace.
Pleasure. It's been an honor, and it's been amazing talking to the person who actually made me start a YouTube channel, made me start this whole stop motion thing and everything. So thanks for being here. It means a lot. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for being here, and see you in season 2. Good night. Goodbye. Bang.